Hey everyone, welcome back to the second episode of We Call This Work. First of all, Dr. Cripps and I probably want to start off saying thank you to everybody for watching and liking the video. Their response, in my opinion, was overwhelming. I didn't think we'd get that many on the first one. What about you?
I didn't think we'd get that many views for like the first year, if I'm being
And
honest.
yeah, now with screenshot and text to you that people were sending me, and they loved it. They're like, please keep up the good work, kind of thing. You know,
Yeah, and I think kind of going back to what you're saying too, that kind of reinforcement and support really does mean a lot because we're throwing darts at the dartboard here. We're trying to make a difference, and
we just want one to stick. That's it.
we want one to stick. And I said this a little bit in that video we posted yesterday is you don't know for sure that you can make a positive impact, but this is one way we're trying, and we have no idea if it's going to work. And so the feedback, whether it's positive or negative, like you said in your video, is comment, leave us comments, leave us feedback, because then we can address it and make this something really cool.
Absolutely. So I think for this second episode, we're going to kind of switch roles, and I'm going to be interviewing you this time. So first off, why don't we start with a little bit of your background and tell me why you decided to be a pediatric dentist?
Yeah, sounds great. So, Dr. Travis Cripps, Little Egypt Pediatric Dentistry in Carbondale, Illinois. We opened the doors about, we're going on 3 years now, which seems like yesterday. As Luke said in the first episode, we spent 4 lovely years together in dental school.
Boom goes the dynamite.
No, had a lot of fun, but it's definitely it's something you want to do once and not a second time. After dental school, I went the Air Force route. So I spent 4 years in the Air Force as a general dentist. So I was working with adults for 4 years. Afterwards, I apparently had a couple screws knocked loose because I decided I was going to work with kids every day. And so went back and did a 2 year residency at St. Louis University and Cardinal Glennon to become a pediatric dentist. And now moved back home and am practicing here in Southern Illinois every day.
Yeah, and first of all, thank you for coming back, even though I know you're from around the area, because to be a pediatric dentist, first of all, you got to have something special.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And like for everyone listening, and I'm not just saying this to flatter you, but you already know probably the story I'm about to tell is Dr. Steele. So in an area like ours, we have a huge shortage of pediatric dentists, huge shortage of dentists in general. Part of the reason we're doing the podcast, we need general dentists that are comfortable seeing kids. And Dr. Steele's one of those that's comfortable seeing kids. In fact, we're in the same dental school class. Out of our class, there's one person who became a pediatric dentist, and that is me. However,
I'll say it.
I did not win the pediatric dental award. Dr. Steele won that award. And so
There was
he
at
is
one
actually
time I
very
wanted to be a pediatric dentist.
well. Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
you still could. It's not
no,
too late. Although I think all
just
your 10,000 adult patients may not like that.
I know.
So Dr. Steele, we I think goes back to what I was saying in the last episode. We get along really well. We have similar mindsets about the patient experience, which goes well in general and pediatrics. And again, something we'll hit on a lot in this podcast.
Yes, and I will say this, when we were in dental school, the mentors and the people that did teach us, Dr. Ross and Dr. Steckgold, Dr. Schneider, I mean, above and beyond, amazing. Because I could tell you, for most dentists out there and everybody, all it takes is one kid to ruin your day, you know,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
fighting and crying, you're trying to help them, they can't get it, and which is completely understandable, so, what you guys do is not only go above and beyond, but you're a vital asset to this area because, like we said, we have nowhere else to send some of these kids. And it's not because we can't work on them. It's just the mindset of, hey, we got to let this dude in the mask with the bright light drill in their face. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just that simple. I will tell you this, man, the amount of kids that come back after seeing you tell me you do go above and beyond wanting to make kids want to come to your office. As the thing that sticks out in my mind the most is how many kids have told me you've dressed up as Blippi. Because if I have to watch one more episode of that with my kids,
Here, look at this. This was not rehearsed. We don't do rehearsals before this. Look what's right next to me on my desk.
I'm telling you, I don't get it.
I've
You are
got all
expensive
the
for doing that.
I've got all of the hats, all the oh, actually here behind the laptop. I've got all of the costumes right here. So in the first episode, we talked about how you built the Taj Mahal. And I still think that I stand by that. You built the Taj Mahal of general dentistry. I try to think of our practice as more of the Disneyland of dentistry. And so
without a doubt. And the
we
Pokemon
try to
card. The kids are coming
really
with
focus
Pokemon
on
cards.
the patient experience is really our mission is simple. Everybody has all these fancy mission plans. I'm not a fancy mission plan
Me
person.
either.
My mission plan is make dentistry fun, and that is what we strive for.
Fun, comfortable, and not overwhelming.
Absolutely. Yep.
Because the amount of, I had told a patient yesterday, still since like 1980, the number one ER visit in America, toothache. The number one thing people are most scared of, going to the dentist.
Absolutely. Something else I think about a lot is it's kind of an odd tangent, but to your point, there's so much anxiety wrapped around dentistry, and people are so scared to go to the dentist that there's a couple different aspects that we have to think of as the dentist. And again, this podcast I think will help reach people, is that there's a very negative stigma in the United States about business and business owners and greed and corruption. And I'm not saying there aren't bad businesses out there, but in dentistry you have to be a decent salesperson, and you have to be someone who can relate to people. And I always use like both you and Dr. Settle as my examples for that, people that are just good with people. Because in our world, no matter what the patient needs, most people are not going to want to do it. So you have to be able in a very human manner to explain to them not only why it's important, but motivate them to actually do it. Because it's probably not going to be the most comfortable thing in the world, So it's interesting, like that. Going through dental school, you don't get a ton of business training, but you really need to hone in on the business psychology side in order to deliver the healthcare side.
That is honestly one of the best statements you have said in the last two episodes, because I do feel as, even though like kind of when I transitioned from me and my old partner to my own place was okay, I was like 28 years old, sure, you might think you know a little bit about business, and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, and I just started buying books and reading, which is one thing I do not like to do, but it was kind of like, what else can you do? Or watching podcasts, that truthfully, I'm more of like a visual guy. You show me I can do it, you make me read it. Yeah, probably not going to happen right the first time, but yeah, for me, I would say you're correct. That would be the hardest part in private practice, would be the business aspect of it, and learning what to do, tax issues, what to spend money on, what not spend money on, overhead, employees, things like that, I'll be honest with you, I'm still learning, after all these years, and I probably, you're never going to master it all. Do you get better? Yes. But most of the time you get better by learning from your failures, and you're like, dang, probably shouldn't have done that, but,
Yep.
for me, like, no one ever remembers like, oh yeah, you were successful or you did awesome in this part. You're like, well, I really screwed this part up, and that's what I know, but, going back to thank goodness we're both, pretty young for, this area, being 35. So we're going to practice here for a long time. In my opinion, where do you think the next step for your business is?
That is such a good question. So, we kind of run all of our business and all our marketing, kind of even going back to the Disney comment, we call it the try hard effect, and it's no matter what, you can't really take away. We just put in a lot of effort toward the next steps. Now, we've reached a point in our business where we have a big decision to make. And so now I talk about this, and this is just kind of a vulnerability of being the business owner is, you build up this plan and you build up this mindset of, I'm trying hard, I'm going to grow, I'm going to build. And then you hit kind of a point where it's either you're fine with where you're at, and you bring on an associate, or you bring on a partner, or you build another building that can house more patients, because we're pretty close to capacity for what I
Did
can
I tell
see.
you 3 years ago?
Yeah, you did. You told me too. We're pretty close to capacity for what I can see in a day, without just greatly expanding hours. And to what you mentioned, it's just not a viable option for me to tell my wife that I'm going to work 3 extra hours a day, because we've got 4 kids under 6. And so if I yeah, and if I get home past 6 o'clock, I literally don't see my kids. Like, they go to bed, two of them go to bed at 6:30, two of them go to bed around 7:38. And so unless you just want to see your kids one day a week, I can't expand my hours much more. And so next steps is, you talk about reading different books. I've been kind of listening to more audiobooks on this. There's one called Small Giants that I'm kind of leaning toward right now, which is more of just stay small and maximize what we have, one practice,
100%.
and balance the, the time here. And more or less, again, weird tangent, but mindset of gratitude. Like, every day I think about this, and I'm very grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for the patients I treat, but I don't have a whole lot more ambition to have, say, like 6 offices. Would a
I
second
couldn't.
off?
I don't want the stress, man.
Yeah, and it comes with like the employment side is the real tough side, because I have a really good team now and I enjoy working with the people I have, but you're still managing dental assistant. Dental hygiene is very female dominant, which is great in pediatrics. The kids love the girls, but our whole team is young, and you're dealing always with maternity leave and pregnancies, and it's hard when someone's out for 2 months. You're not going to replace them. Most people don't want to come in and work for 2 months at a time. We just kind of work usually one person down, and then for a couple months a year, we have the whole team here until the next person's having a baby.
Yep, adapt and go, man. Every day.
You really do. So I think, to summarize that answer, I think we'll probably stay it for the foreseeable future as a one doc office. If I bring someone in, it'll have to be part-time, because I don't have enough parking to run 2 docs. I'd have to build, the building right next door to me is for sale. So unless I buy that building or build a new building, as of now, I think we're going to kind of hunker down and perfect the systems. Then if we decide to expand to a second location, it'll just be that much easier.
Everything you said, I agree with. Sometimes instead of getting overwhelmed and trying to maximize your, let's say, business by having 2 or 3 different offices, not only do you say you maximize that, but you minimize your time. And, right now, people come to see you. That's what they want. You're developing a brand, and, I kind of, excuse me, kind of feel the same way as, people come here, they want to see me, but I would love to have somebody else. You're going to have to take some time to get used to them. You got to have a kind of a different mindset when you practice down here, because you kind of got to be the jack of all trades. Like I said, we've discussed this before, specialists aren't very abundant. I told a guy the other day, you guys are kind of like albino deer, but everybody wants to see you, kind of thing. It really is. So, I think that business mindset's absolutely great, but I'm gonna kind of throw you a curveball here. All right.
Can I say one thing before you do?
Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing I want to add to that is, I was waiting for a moment to throw this in, because I call those Lukeisms, which on the podcast I'm going to call T-shirt moments, where I cannot wait for the audience to just get just the plethora of T-shirt moments that are going to come out of your mouth over the course of this podcast.
Well,
Albino deer.
I
Yeah.
think the girls that work for me are almost tired of it by now, because they look at me like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you just said that."
Yeah.
The other thing.
That's what's cool about it. Okay, what's the curveball?
And I actually had somebody ask me this the other day, because they probably heard me going off in a room right next to them the other day. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Oh my gosh.
Like, what's
Biggest
the one
pet
thing that
peeve,
sets you off?
I would say my biggest pet peeve is when someone like curses at my team. That sets me off very quickly. And
Yeah.
that's something that I probably still have to work on too, is I have to be a little quicker as a business owner. If you curse at my team, to just say, "Hey, look, you violated the rule we don't tolerate, and now you're gone." Instead of, because I get very defensive. I get
Oh,
very
same here.
defensive. If we come in and we provide a service, and I understand if it's more expensive than you thought, or we got to work out a payment plan, and as long as there's good communication, we can work with that. But if you call my team and start cursing at them and calling them any name under the sun, that's just, to me, you're like, I'm done with you at that
I
point.
honestly don't even want to talk to you then. We're done.
Yeah. Because it's just like it's that level of respect and going. It does not happen often, I'll say, and the times it does happen, this is the part where it gets tricky, right? Is in the pediatric world, we all know there's like a huge need for Medicaid providers. In Illinois, it's almost impossible to take the state of Illinois Medicaid, because of the stipulation that if we see one kid, we have to see anyone who calls. And that's impossible. Like, there's too many kids, not enough providers. And so some of these families are going through a ton of stress, and they have a kid that is in pain and they can't get in, and they have to drive to Chicago, but they don't have transportation. So from a human side, I totally understand the stress that they're going through. However, no matter how stressed you are, it cannot lead you to a point that you are calling our office and dropping F-bombs to my front desk and calling them any name under the sun, because that in no way is going to get you better service in any industry.
I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody.
Yep.
On our text messaging phone service thing, it's called
Mhm.
Weave.
Yep.
I actually pay the extra money so we record
Mhm.
the conversations.
Yep.
And those ones that go off like that, I'm like, oh, I cannot wait. Because I'll go in there and I'll be like, hey, like, I heard you had a problem. Because,
Mhm.
or I'm sure you're the same, we'll walk in the room, it's like butterflies and bumblebees everywhere. You're the best thing
Absolutely.
since sliced bread, you know? And then I'll have this piece of paper and I'll just start reading it. And they don't say nothing because they know then, you know? I have a thing called, I like to call it to the girls, the COVID theory, to
Uh-huh.
where I had really didn't have too many issues before COVID. And then COVID happened and it was like, we have a generation of, we just lost all sense of, hey, it's okay to be kind. There's no reason to be rude. And the accountability issue,
Mhm.
like I walked in a room not too long ago and, as I was walking in, I just heard this patient just kind of chirping off at my assistant,
Mhm.
so the first thing I hear is, oh, I haven't been in to a dentist in 7, 8 years, whatever it was. So I walk in and the first thing I see to my left is a big gulp, which
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times is Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
I don't even need a crystal ball to see it. And then on their lap is like one of the patient napkins, and there's this like huge wad of big red chewing gum.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I'm thinking, first, I thought, I was like, are you saving that for later? Or
Uh-huh.
like, what's going on? And they're
Uh-huh.
complaining about having a toothache and having cavities,
Mhm.
you know, but
Yep.
it is not that assistant's fault that you have that toothache or have cavities.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. It is not my fault, but my job is to help you. And that's the reason you're here. But
Mhm.
I would definitely change your attitude, because I always tell the girls, you kind of kill them with kindness. And the more kind and respectful you are to people, most of the time they reciprocate that,
Mhm.
but the ones that kind of, like you said, want to go off or especially curse or just berate sometimes, my front desk, it literally, that's the reason I got to take a blood pressure medication pill every morning. Because you never know what you're going to get, kind of thing.
And if one thing too, we've had success with this. I got this from a guy named Chris Voss, who wrote the book "Never Split the Difference." Black Swan Group. He was an FBI negotiator, and he uses a couple different techniques. You'd have to read the book to know them all. But two things that we do, and it's pretty darn effective at diffusing tension. Not the people come in and they're just like, I had a mom walk in the office. Her shirts, it's pediatric office. Her shirt said zero F's given. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to win you over.
Losing
But
situation.
you get a lot of times, mom's got 3 kids at home. She's dealing with a lot. She's just stressed out, and maybe she's a little short in the way she's speaking, but she's just stressed. And so, a lot of times, if you will, he uses it like mirroring and kind of reflection. So, if you kind of mirror their body language, but then kind of call out the emotion that you're seeing in them. So, if you say something like, "It seems like you're carrying a lot today. Seems like you've got a lot on your plate." They will generally unload all their stress on you. And then it's like, now I can think again. Because a lot of times people really
88
oftentimes
needs a code
want
for
to
that.
be heard. Like
We
they
can
want to
charge
be
for it.
heard. Yeah. And so one thing, yeah, definitely with if you for your team, I know you're doing a lot of this, but like or any team that's listening, try that. Like someone comes in and they're ecstatic, be like, man, you really seem like you're having a good day. Like it's such a good way to get the conversation started, especially if you don't like small talk. Like you point that out, you'll get them talking, and it is a great way to just lead right into it.
Yeah. And, kind of, and I know, and every practitioner knows this, sometimes all you got to do, you just got to listen.
No,
Okay.
absolutely.
And you're like, man, I don't got time for this. You definitely care about the patient. You care about, doing the best job you can. But sometimes you're like, all right, you know, there's no ADA code for, me sitting here listening here right now.
Lean back in the chair and get
Yeah.
comfortable.
And sometimes, I can tell, you can ask all the girls that work for me, anytime I'm behind is because I'm usually talking. It is
Yep.
not usually the dentistry. Okay. I'll be
Yep.
honest with you. Very rarely I'll get on some tangent about something with some patient and we'll just like go back and forth. Lately, it's been Illinois basketball. And that's the only reason I'm ever behind. But I always tell the girls I give myself the 20-minute rule. If I'm 20 minutes behind, I'm still on time because that usually means I can catch up somehow.
Yeah, that's so true. And my team will tell you the exact same thing that they saw Dr. Grounds and made a post about with a little sign on his back about how he's a yapper as like a joke of his team, and they're just like, this is you. Like we can't even make this joke. You're so bad. It is what it is, but it's part of how we built the office and how I plan out the timing with the appointments. And I tell the parents this. I've worked in offices where I have to work faster, but you lose out on that personal connection.
And
And I think
patients appreciate it.
when I think long term, if you're going back to even the human side, but the business side, if I'm trying to build someone who is going to write me a huge review and be a fan of my practice for years, usually not going to be the office that is just a mill where they feel like they were never heard. You never took the time to listen to them. You didn't answer their questions. And could you be more efficient in your delivery? Sure, but in my delivery, it's our practice is very healthy. Our profits are great, and it's like, and I enjoy doing it this way where I get to spend more time with the family. I know the families better, and so for me, I enjoy it. Again, perk of being in a small town, I can do fun stuff like that, build the practice however I want it, and it's how I like it. So it's, as of now, minor tweaks, but it's not changing. Yep.
I hate to say I'm kind of the guy that's stuck in my ways, but I really am because what I've done in the last 10 years has worked. And am I always willing to, change something or do something or add something or, give up something such as a procedure I just don't feel I want to do anymore? You know, that's kind of, reiterating what you and I said. The wonderful part about being in this area and being in Southern Illinois is you have that adaptability. You will have the patience, you can kind of pick and choose how you want to practice, and you don't have to walk into a room thinking, okay, I got to make X amount of dollars just to pay this bill, or I got to make X amount of dollars this day. I cannot tell you the last time I thought about that, because you will literally, if you have to do that, you are changing the way you practice, which is not good. And you're not giving not only the patient the best service mentally and, stress wise. I'm telling you, you're not doing any favors for yourself by having that attitude.
That is such a good point, especially in healthcare where people are depending on you for their overall health and their oral health. And I can say too, I had the same experience in Southern Illinois. The price tag never enters my mind. And one thing I'll say for patients that are listening, and I say this to people, and I don't know if they always believe me, but I'm going to foot stomp this. I will make more money as a doctor if your kid has no cavities. If your kid has no cavities, I will see 200 kids a day. I'll do nothing but exams and cleanings. I will hire 15 hygienists and we will run through cleanings all day long, and I'll check for, oral cancer and other things we're screening for. When I have to sit down and actually do a filling, do a procedure, do a crown, anything like that, it takes so much more of my time. Even though the price tag is higher, it's not actually as profitable as if I was seeing nothing but cleanings and exams all day. And so we have a very mutual interest that your kid has no cavities, because our business would be stronger and your health would be better and you would spend less money because your insurance covers more preventative. So it is a win literally for everybody if we get less dental caries.
Which I can tell you in future podcasts, I'm sure one of our topics is going to be dental insurance and the insurance issue, in my opinion, that is currently out there. I'm not going to go on with that anymore because I'm telling you, that's just, I'll go down a road that's not very good.
We can hit that one. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably have similar viewpoints. When I'm in a good mood, I call dental insurance a coupon. When I'm in a bad mood, I call it a scam. So
I
both
tell patients
accurate.
all the time, it is cheaper for you to pay cash with me if you really don't have any issues and get your teeth cleaned twice a year than have dental insurance, because it has severely gotten worse. And every year it gets even worse. Like I don't want to say the word more worse because that's terrible English, but that's true. Okay.
Okay. Small town English.
It is. But, I think in the future podcast, we're going to touch on a lot of issues that I think a lot of people in general and a lot of patients want to hear about. And I think that is a big one, because one of the main questions I hear all the time is, what dental insurance should I get? And honestly, I used to have an answer and I don't no more.
Yep.
I really don't.
Hey, man, I know we both got patients here in about 10 minutes. We recorded this one in the morning. So you want to should we wrap this up and
Wrap her
get
up.
get to actual work?
I guess, even though I like doing this,
I do like doing this too. This is actually that's the whole name of the podcast.
yeah,
Anyone still listening, we say, we call this work because we're technically working right now, but I could do this for 6 hours.
that's why if you paid attention to how many times that phone rang, I don't even open until 9 o'clock and it's 8:19.
Yep.
I tell everybody it's a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
But again, both of us want to thank everybody for watching the episode 1. Like I said, guys, we're shooting from the hip here. As Travis made in one of his videos, we are not professionals yet, hopefully. But we're going to keep trying. We're going to try to, hit on different subjects, different topics that we think not only people in general, but our patients want to hear about. Again, thanks for watching. Keep watching, like, subscribe to our channel. I know it's in the infancy stage, but, we want to try to do the best what's for everybody.
Couldn't agree more. Have a good day, man.
You too, buddy. Take it easy.
Take care. Bye.